Welcome back to the Raising Men podcast. My name is David Whalen, and today my guest is Damian Blen of the Ontario Rockies. I'm grateful to have Damian here. This is episode 9, so we're moving along. And again, I appreciate Damian coming along. Damian is a former Cuban National Baseball player who is now coaching and mentoring young men and women in Ontario with the Ontario Rockies. And it's a great baseball organization. But without further ado, welcome, Damian.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah. A lot of what I'm hoping to accomplish out of the Raising Men podcast is to provide parents, families, dads, many people, guidance, help, support with regards to raising youth, raising men, and also bringing up male culture. And I'm grateful today. Damian himself has an amazing story. He's a very well recognized baseball coach, obviously. But what I love is, we're bringing somebody on the podcast from a different and unique culture, and learning what types of things may have been done differently, or philosophies that are done, philosophies that Damian has, and through his experiences, how he has become a great teacher and, again, a mentor and leader within the community. So with that, Damian, maybe give us a little bit of a background. Who is Damian Blen? What are you doing today? And kind of how did you get there?
Hi. First of all, good morning, and thank you again for having me in this interview. As you mentioned, my name is Damian Blen. I'm originally from Cuba. I born in Havana, the capital of Cuba, and started playing baseball at a very early age. I basically started playing baseball because one of my cousin, who was in the original team, got hurt in one of the games. So I was the youngest boy in a group of around 6 family members.
Okay.
I had 6 years old or 5 years old, more or less. The rest of the boys were 11, 10 years old.
Wow.
So I always I went with them all the time because I just want to learn baseball, see them to play. And one day they were short, only 9 players, but one of the players has an injury in the game. And the coach looked at the side, and the only person who was there was me. He said, "Hey, do you want to play?" Yeah, I said, yeah. And I started playing baseball over there. Later on, I was selected to play in one of the special schools in Havana, just for the best athlete for every sport. They scouted players from all over the place in the capital, in the city, and select the best baseball player, the best track and field athlete, the best basketball player, the best volleyball player. So I was lucky they select me to that special school at the age of 10 years old. I started playing baseball at 10 years old, and very, very well organized baseball. And then I developed really, really well in that school. It was really tough, very difficult for a 10 years old boy going away from the family. And then, facing a lot of people. That school, I remember, has over 3,500 students. It was a huge school.
Wow.
But I really like baseball, and I tried to do my best in order to develop.
Yes.
And I grew up, and little by little, people start knowing Damian as a baseball player, as a student. As a matter of fact, I was, very good student at the moment, and that helped me a lot. So, people start to respect me because I respect everybody, and that I grow up with that mentality. You respect, people respect. So that's very much what I did at my early age. So later on, as I developed, I was selected to different national teams from different age groups,
Mm-hmm.
and I start being recognized, uh, not just in Havana, but in the whole country as a baseball
Okay.
player.
Wow.
And the rest is history. So
And did you play with the Cuban national team? The
yes, we
official
play.
national team?
Yeah, we play. I start playing with the national at the national level with 16 years old. Was
Okay.
very young at the time. Then I
Mm-hmm.
make the national team 1990, 1989, 1990. I never made the Olympic team. It was
Mm-hmm.
extremely difficult to make the Olympic team at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But back in the days, Cuba had the privilege to set up 3 or 4 national teams
Okay.
with a lot of superstar players, a lot of
Mm-hmm.
very, very good ball players. And I was lucky, and I make one of those teams and play, in different countries with that national teams. It was an
Mm-hmm.
amazing experience for me because it was my first time playing out of Cuba. So
Okay.
it was unbelievable.
And what in Cuba, uh, what would you say are different coaching styles that may have influenced how you are today versus typical what you've seen in North America? Like, I would assume coaching, what sort of influence your coaching style, I guess, if maybe a better question.
Yeah, well, in how we grow up was with a different mentality, I would say, in baseball. See, here I learned that here uh, most players, especially on the early age,
Mm-hmm.
most player has the right to play on the game, no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, when I grew up in Cuba, uh, only the best player play all the time. It doesn't matter how old are you, 8, 10 years old, 11 years
Yeah.
old. Only 9 players are going to play all the times, whether
Yeah.
if your parents like it or not.
Yeah.
Uh, because it's a very, very competitive.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, in Cuba, uh, we we have a championship mentality. So
Mm-hmm.
if you don't win, uh, you're not good enough. And especially when we play out of Cuba in any international tournament,
Mm-hmm.
we must win. Silver medal is not an option for baseball.
Yeah.
And I grow up with that mentality. When I get here,
Mm-hmm.
I had to change my mind. I had to change my mentality because at the beginning it was a little bit hard for me to say, "Wow, why that guy is playing? He's living in the top 11 player in the team, but he's playing. He has to." And then I learned, little by little. Some parents explained to me, "Okay, this is a fun sport at this level, just to develop the boys and see if they like it." And I understood. I say, "Wow, that's amazing," because not everybody's good enough to play all the time,
Mm-hmm.
and and also some players develop a little bit later than others.
Mm-hmm.
So the fact that you're not good enough when you got 10 years old, it doesn't mean that when you turn 14, you're not good. You'll be much better than most of those players that were better than you back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
I learned that not just here, I learned that in Cuba as well. That's why over there, you have to work very, very, very hard. And we practice very much every single day, twice a day.
Wow.
And it was really, really tough because you have to go to school. Doesn't matter if you're tired or not. It's not an excuse to miss classes just because of baseball, and vice versa. You're not allowed to miss baseball because of school. You have to bring both very, very evenly, I would
Okay.
say. So that's the way I grow up, and that's uh, what I see the difference is between the Cuban baseball culture and the
Mm-hmm.
Canadian baseball baseball very much.
And you, so I know with a lot of the, I mean, what I've seen so far with a lot of the athletes that you are currently training, and maybe some that you've trained in the past, you're helping a lot of the baseball athletes within Ontario to get scholarships and to play, in higher level baseball. You're coaching many young baseball players. One of my boys will hopefully play with you in the summer. I think maybe explain a little bit about your program with the Ontario Rockies and what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish out of that.
Well, yes, I start working here with different teams. Before I start my organization,
Okay.
I used to work with uh, Ontario Blue Jays,
Okay.
Team Ontario Mets, Hamilton Thunderbirds back in the
Mm-hmm.
days. I used to work as well in the Canadian Baseball League. It was a semi-professional league that they tried to open in 2008, I believe.
Okay.
I worked there as a coach and as a player. Then I decided to set up my own organization. I don't know if you know my previous organization before I started Rockies was
No.
Ontario International Baseball Academy, where I
Okay.
place many players. I work with many different players uh, uh, as a private coach, while I work with other teams.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, the only difference is I do not promote myself too much, which I probably believe it is a mistake. But yeah, so many teams claim that they place that many players in this college and that many players in this college, which is great for everybody. That's the idea. Uh, I think I should promote that to myself, or somebody uh, will do that for me, because I don't like social media too much. I don't follow. I have no time. And
Yeah.
what I'm doing with my Rockies guys is to follow that idea, develop those boys, help themselves as much as possible, but not only as a baseball player. I have a number of rules in my organization
Mm-hmm.
where I track the boys at the school as well. I ask for parents for authorization letter, so to allow me to go to the school, talk to the principal, talk to the teachers, to find out how my players are doing at the school, because the school is extremely important. If you want to help the boys to get a scholarship in the states, they have dual scholarship,
Okay.
academically and athletic. So it's very difficult for any Canadian player to get a full scholarship just athletically, because not because they're not good enough. We have an amazing baseball player here in Canada. Just because the weather is not our best friend for baseball. So yeah, you have to, if you're a very good ball player, you can get at least 40 or 45% uh, scholarship athletic.
Mm-hmm.
And on the other hand, if you're a very good student, the other 60% or whatever percent you need to complete the 100, coming from the academic standpoint. That I always insist on parents and players. Please make sure the guys have good academically standard, because
Mm-hmm.
it's the best way for me to help them. And also, I in the past I have many different players, many different parents. Sometimes I have single mom, single dad
Mm-hmm.
as parents with some kind of problem with the boys, and say, you know what, leave it to me. Leave it to me. I talk to the boy. I follow. I've been living in Hamilton. Sometime I went to different school in Toronto to
Mm-hmm.
follow the boys. And when the parents see that, they say, this guy is not just a baseball coach.
Mhm.
He is like a real teacher, because in my background, I don't know if I'm mentioning, uh, I hold a master degree in baseball and uh, master degree in physical sports,
Okay.
and another master degree in psychological sport standpoint. So
Wow.
it's something that I try to combine in order to help the boys. Sometimes you are not a really good ball player, but you are a really good person,
Mhm.
and you deserve an opportunity in that way. And I see the guy not only uh, for the baseball side, I see the guy in so
Mhm.
if the guy is a good boy, wants to learn, is a disciplined guy, is a good student. Maybe he's not really good ball player, but I want that guy in my organization because he deserves help. And
Mhm.
from the bottom of my heart, I telling you, for me to be a good person, a uh, good dad, good
Mhm.
brother, good son, is more important than being a really good ball player that nobody likes you and everybody hates
Mhm.
you just because you act. So when I check a boys, when I check a player in baseball, uh, everybody mentioned that the baseball player has to have 5 tools. I'm
Mhm.
looking for 7 tools. My 6 tools is attitude, and the
Mhm.
tool number 7 for me is the work ethic. That
I love that.
combination for me is a perfect combination. That's what I'm looking for, and that's what we follow in my organization in general.
I love that. Thank you very much. I think we're, I'm grateful, obviously, for having my children come out and participate with you. And I think in Canada, we're blessed to have somebody like yourself with the experience to come and help and teach and help bring up the culture of uh, baseball and of youth sports in our communities. So thank you very, very much. I am grateful for that, and I appreciate it. I know that Cuban baseball, one of the best countries in the world for baseball, and a lot of great baseball players. And I know you mentioned, having played with some of the top baseball players in the world. Are there any specific baseball players or baseball mentors or people that growing up were big mentors? Is there anybody specifically names that you would like to mention and say thank you to, or um, anybody that's really helped shape you as a person?
Yeah, absolutely. I play with many really good ball players, and in general, I really want to thank to all of them because when I started playing baseball, I was very young, and in some one way or the other, uh, I always have the influence of those guys trying to help me up as a young player.
Mhm.
Uh, I had the privilege to play with Orlando Hernandez, El Duque. He played for
Yes.
New York Yankees. We played several years in Cuba. Even before I reached the level and before he reached the top level as well, he played for the Havana Baseball Academy, and I played for that special baseball school that I mentioned
Mhm.
previously.
Yes.
And the level of competition was very, very, very tough, very hard, because El
Mhm.
Duque was always an amazing pitcher. That
Mhm.
guy was extremely, extremely good. And
Yes.
then, every time we play against them, our adrenaline coming up, because we know that if we face him
Mhm.
and we do a good job, whatever coming after him, gonna be in trouble with us.
Yeah.
Then I also have the privilege to play with Ray Ordonez.
Mhm.
He used to play for New York Mets.
Mhm.
An amazing shortstop. An amazing shortstop. Yeah, we played together. Uh, for several years. We are personal friend because I remember when we were in that baseball school.
Mhm.
Ray is 2 years younger than me,
Mhm.
um, and then I remember sometime on the weekend after the game, we hanging out together. Uh, Either he coming to my house and hanging around with me and other friends, or I going to his house or somebody's house. We always it was a small group of 5 or 6 friends that we grew
Mhm.
up together.
Mhm.
Uh, I also play against Jose Contreras. He
Okay.
pitched also for the Yankees and Chicago White Sox. Uh, it's another friend of mine, an amazing pitcher as well. Every time we play against him,
Mhm.
it was very very tough match for us.
Uh-huh.
So facing those guys, bring you to the level that you have to give you 300% effort if you want to
Mhm.
be success. Uh, Other than that, against those pitchers, Duque, Contreras, you have no chance. No chance at all. Those guys were so good. Even even in Cuba, they were so good. Also, I have the privilege to work uh, with Kendris Morales
Mhm.
when I start my coaching career in Cuba. I wasn't specifically his main coach, but we work in the same area, and sometimes when the Kendrick's coach has many guys, he asks me for some kind of help, and
Mhm.
then he sent Kendrick's and other really good ball players through me, and then I have the chance to work with him. At that time, I remember in Cuba was mandatory to hit both sides of the plate. So
Okay.
that's why, in that time, Kendrick learned how to hit in both sides. Amazingly, uh, he he hit really, really well on his left side,
Uh-huh.
but his original side is the right. It's on the right side.
Oh wow.
So he got power, but he become a better lefty hitter because you will see in his baseball career, on any baseball career for any player, you're gonna see more right-handed pitcher than lefty.
Mhm.
So he started to develop the left side more and
Mhm.
more and more and more, and then he become a lefty very much better hitter in the left side than right side.
Wow.
So I have the chance to work and play with different players. I also know personally. I know Julie Gurriel for the Houston Astro. His brother Lourdes Jr. that play here in Toronto. Uh,
Yes.
I didn't have the chance to meet Harold Chaman. I was already here. I didn't have the chance to meet uh, Jose Abreu from White Sox, but
Mhm.
I play with many players with an amazing baseball skill, and honestly, I thanks all of them for everything. I learned playing baseball with those guys in one way or the other. So
Thank you. That's must be an incredible experience, and thank you very much for sharing that. I think one of the questions that I would like to know, and I think that could help with regards to our podcast, is you know your father. For us that are raising children, both young men and young women, what can we do as parents to help you know raise up our youth? What can we do to support them, to help them succeed and to help them achieve more?
well, first I recommended the parents uh, to be straight and honest with the boys. I'm talking about on the baseball side. I know the
Yes.
parents usually don't like the boys or anything like that, but in the baseball side, sometimes parents just to make the boy to feel well, they say, "Oh yeah, good job, good job, good job." Baseball players do not grow up in that way. If the boys uh, are not doing a good job. Just encourage them to do a good job in a different way. Don't tell them good job, because in that way you're lying to the boy. Then the boy
Mhm.
grow up believing that he's doing a good job. But when mommy or daddy is not in that area and he face himself the reality, then the players suffer that.
Mhm.
So my advice is to try to encourage the boy to work a little bit harder,
Mhm.
because if you want baseball seriously, okay,
Mhm.
you have to commit it seriously. Now, if you want a baseball just for fun, that's different. If you
Mhm.
want a boy play baseball for fun, you know, whatever the parents say, it should be all right for the boy. But when
Mhm.
you're talking about baseball at the elite level, and I see
Mhm.
it every day, boys, they don't, the parent don't push them to the commitment that they agree. Uh, and I understand it's not easy. Nothing is easy in life. But if you teach the boy from the beginning, at the early age, hey, you say that you want to play baseball, don't come in that like you have too much homework and miss baseball. You have to be able to handle it. It's a flexibility. I understand that the boys school is a priority, and sometimes they have really a lot to do. Okay,
Mhm.
in that case, okay, miss 1 day or 2 days is acceptable. But when you bring your boy to an elite level and you pay some fee for that elite level, you have to encourage the boy to respect that commitment, to respect uh, the sacrifice that the parents are doing. Do not spoil the boy,
Mhm.
because daddy and mommy are not forever. At some point, if you grow up with so many material things in your mind, and you don't believe in values, you don't believe in respect, you are going to have a very tough life when you become an adult, when you have your own family, because the sport teach you discipline. If you have good discipline in baseball, you will have discipline for everything you do for the rest of your life. And my advice to the parents: try to encourage the boy in the way that the guy wants to work a little bit harder to be better.
Mhm.
What I say to my boys, I have young boys like at 8, 9, 10 years old, 7 years old. And I always say, try to come here to be better every day, not just because the coach say we have practice. If you come here to learn something every day and to develop good habits, you will be a good ball player, you will be a good person, you will be a good student, and everybody will love you. That's what I encourage the little boys.
Mhm.
At the early age, I always say that you wanna make shoes. Try to make the best shoes in the world. You wanna
Mhm.
make gloves. Try to make the best glove in the world. You wanna be
Mhm.
a baseball player. Try to be the best on your team. Don't come in here just to be one more, because you're not making that money worth the money that your parents spend. This is when you start talking. I mean, I use very soft language with young boys,
Mhm.
because I just want to learn, teach them how to respect the commitment, how to respect your parents' job at the early age. If they listen little by little and they grow up in that way, I guarantee you the parents won't have any problem with the boys as they grow up. I see, on the other hand, some boys that the parents push them to come into play baseball, and that's not right. If somebody had to push me to teach baseball, I prefer not to coach because I won't be a good coach. That had to be from me, inside me. I want to be a coach. I want to teach. I like to teach. That has to be the way that the parents should work with the boys, not just let's go play baseball to do something. Wow, depending on the level that you want it, but even if it's for fun, respect the rest of the boys, respect the other boys. Come to play baseball, but you have to respect the other boys. Try to do your best because that's going to help you for the rest of your life. If you start like that at the early age, the parent will be happy with their boys later on. They will say, okay, it's worth it. The sacrifice is worth it.
I love that. That's powerful. How many teams and students are you currently sort of working with within your program?
Well, right now, we work in general. Right now, we have around 80 players
Wow.
beside the Rockies. That's including uh, private clinics,
Mhm.
private workouts, uh, general instructions,
Mhm.
and then we work with a young group of players from 10 to 12 years old.
Mhm.
The name is Jackals, Ontario Jackals.
Yes. Yeah.
We have on the Rockies a 14 and under team, 16 and under team, and 18 and under team. Those group of players has around 15, 16 players each. So
Mhm.
in general, I would say over 120 players, 130 players in general for the
Wow.
whole baseball organization.
Wow. And you also run um, a facility in, I want to say in the Hamilton area. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. Our facility is Ontario Baseball Academy, where we run all those programs. We also have rental space for other teams.
Okay.
We offer different options, different services here. We provide catcher coaches if the
Wow.
teams requested. We
Mhm.
provide pitching coaches if the team requested. We provide the whole coaching staff if the team requested. We've been helping several teams in the past developing player because we do that not just because we want the player play for the Rockies. We do that because we want to help the players to develop. Uh, for example, I've been working with Watered Down Wolf for the
Okay.
past 4 or 5 years, even before
Okay.
Kobe. That's the coach name is Rick. Uh, it's a Rick, and then at the beginning, some parents were a little bit concerned. Say, "Hey, we be careful, Rick. We don't want to play for the Rockets." I said, "Rick, we don't want your players. We already, yeah. At the time, I had just one thing. I say,
Yeah.
we don't want your players. We prefer to develop you players and make your job a little bit easier and make these guys happy when they go out there and compete." And at this point right now, 4 years later, Rick has one of the best 15 in his division in the OBA division that he played.
Mhm.
Last year they won uh, the provincials,
Wow.
and at this point he still have the same group of players that I met 4 years ago. Right
Wow.
now, even some of those players practice with us in private lesson or private clinics. The best catcher for Rick started with us when he got 12. And we told Rick, this guy gonna be your best catcher in a year from now. And right
Wow.
now he is the best catcher. Some of those players has been with us even in the trip to Cuba. We going to Cuba every March break,
Mm-hmm.
and we extended our invitation to different players for different organizations.
Mm-hmm.
They've been with us in Cuba. They've been with us in practice, but we don't encourage the players to come in to us. We don't do that just because we want to get the players. Parents, players make decisions to go to wherever they want.
Mm-hmm.
And if any players from Rick or any other coach want to play with us, I
Mm-hmm.
will be the first person to talk to the coach. Hey, listen, this guy wanted, he's requested to play for us.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted your approval because I just want to keep growing that relationship
Mm-hmm.
with the coaches, because I learned from Rick as well. I learned from Rick's players. I learned from other coaches. It doesn't matter what level of coaches, uh, what level of baseball they have.
Mm-hmm.
I like to learn from everybody, and I try to encourage all the coaches to come in to learn from us as well. And we would like to work with all the players. That make the job easy for everybody, not just for Rick, for any other coach. You have a nice and good group of players with a good habit. Then, as a coach, your job gonna be a lot easier, and that's what we do. That's what we do right now.
And obviously, having moved from Cuba to Canada, as a man, married, kids, owning a business, again, mentoring kids, being a leader within the community. As a man, what are some core things that you think that men in general need to have or to work on to be better leaders, better fathers, better men in general?
Well, I consider myself like as a simple person.
Mm-hmm.
Respect is a priority for me. Being honest and always try to work hard.
Mm-hmm.
As I encourage my boys, try to be the best on whatever you do.
Mm-hmm.
If you're a cleaner or you are lawyer or doctor or whatever, try to be the best. I when I was in Cuba, I learned that nothing is easy in life. And when I come in here, I say, well, this is a paradise. But later on, I learned how hard the life is here
Yeah.
if you don't do what you're supposed to do. But since I have that in my background,
Mm-hmm.
respect, hard work, and honestly, that make my life a little bit easier here in Canada. Little bit easier. No, doesn't mean that my life is easy here, because it's not easy for anybody. We all have to work hard to accomplish whatever we need.
Mm-hmm.
But my advice for any young family, uh, uh, dad or mom, is to try to be honest with the boys. If you want to bring them to the sports side, encourage them to work hard. And if you don't want to, or if your son or your daughter doesn't like to play any sport, be honest with them and don't put the material things as a priority. I have a daughter and son. None of them play sports. My son never played baseball, believe it or not. My daughter never played any sport. But I raise my boys, my daughter and son, in the way that they give a lot of value to other things than material. So they respect, they're honest, they're hard worker, and that helped them to grow up as a family, uh, women and men. And right now they're raising my grandsons in the best
Mm-hmm.
way possible, which is not, it's not easy for anybody.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's not easy for them. But when you have that background, uh, from the early age and you grow up in that way, the life is a little bit easier, and then you have a little bit experience to bring those value to you boys as a person for the future. Now, whether if you play sport or no, that's what I recommended to any young dad or moms on any age.
I love that. In closing in today's podcast, and I'm honestly grateful and appreciative for you being here today. What is it that you want to leave the people listening with today? What do you want to tell them about Damian Blen that maybe we haven't talked about? What is it that you want them to leave knowing today?
Well, I would like to, let the people know that, as a baseball coach, I always try my best to help the boys. My commitment with the parents and the boys are unbreakable. Also, I would like them to believe in my job, because I'm not just a baseball coach. I'm an educator. I help the boys to grow up. If you bring me your son, I don't know if your son gonna be the best baseball player in the world, but I can guarantee you that your son will be a better person, better student, and I will help your son on any way possible, your son or your daughter, any way possible to succeed in life. Because for me, as I mentioned, being a good person is much better than being the best baseball player. You can have all the talents in the world as a baseball player, but if you're not a good person, you won't go too far on whatever you do. I want to let everybody know that if you need that kind of help, Damian Blen is here to help and to improve. Whether if you play, your son played baseball or not, improve the value of the human side of your son or your daughter. This is me, and that's the message that I want to send to everybody. So see Damian Blen not just as a baseball coach, but also a great person to help your family.
I very much agree with that. And again, as I said, thank you so much for being on here today. I appreciate you sharing your story. I highly recommend for anybody that is looking for a great mentor within the baseball community, Damian Blen, again, one of the best people around. And we're very lucky to have him here in Canada and in Ontario. So again, Damian, thank you so much for being a part of the podcast today. Thank you for sharing your story. And I wish you all the best, continued success, and I hope you have a great afternoon.
Thank you very much, David, for having me. It's really appreciate this opportunity for you, the group of people who work with you in this broadcast program. You're amazing. It's honestly, you're amazing. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much for having me.
No problem. Well, this is David Whalen with Damian Blen. We're signing off the Raising Men podcast. It's episode 9. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. All the best.